So I'm gonna make this video short and simple because you know I just feel like well, first, it's Lance Cardio Fitness on YouTube. Thank you to all my subscribers, the ones that like my video posts, my community boards, and much love to you guys. You guys are amazing. I hope you guys are having a successful, peaceful, healthy, blessed week, and everything is working out good for you. Much love to you guys, to my brother Warrior Champs and my sister Warrior Champs in Jesus Christ. So my brothers and sisters in Jesus, Christian sisters and brothers in Jesus Christ. Much love to you guys, man. I'm doing a podcast. This is Bruce Lee. I'm gonna do two of these, and this one here is not the live stream. Like, the live stream would be on StreamYard. But what I will say is that I know this is a lot of backlash, a lot of doubt about Bruce Lee not being able to fight. And Bruce Lee, no, he was not a professional fighter, but I do believe Bruce Lee was a fighter. He was a martial arts fighter, and he's a GOAT. He's the greatest of all time for a reason. And there's a lot of people doubting him, man. And, like I said, I feel like Chuck Norris and Jim Kelly, before he passed away, said Bruce Lee was untouchable. Jim Kelly said Bruce Lee was untouchable. He was a step ahead of everybody. You cannot deny the experience Bruce Lee had back in his day. First of all, social media didn't exist in Bruce Lee's day. The UFC didn't exist. I don't even think MMA did. Wrestling existed, and so did boxing. Now, Bruce Lee could have gotten a boxing ring, and he could have did that if he wanted to. But like I said, he was more interested in acting and being a martial arts actor. But like Ron Van Cliff said in one of the martial art videos that I actually have, I'll put that on my television. He said Bruce Lee was a prototype of martial arts, and I believe the same thing. He was able to do things in his training that nobody was able to do. He was able to, his striking ability was highly lethal and dangerous and devastating. I mean, there's not really many effective professional fighters, man, on this planet that can really, 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 really do some serious damage to a fighter in a fight. A lot of fighters focus on a lot of knockouts on their record, or in MMA, a lot of submissions. If you notice how MMA is today, it's either they're a submission specialist and they're only good for ground and pound, and that's it, or they're just a stand-up fighter. Like Alex Peoria, which I definitely look up to him. He's one of my favorite UFC fighters. Another one I have to say would be Islam. Of course, there's a few other ones on that list. I just don't know. I put Fedor on that list of greatest MMA fighters of all time, and I'll say Anderson Silva and Jose Aldo. Those are the ones I truly favor in MMA. And so those guys that I just named are my favorite mixed martial artists: Alex Peoria, Islam, Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo, and Fedor. Those are my five. That's how I got inspired to do train MMA. Much shout out, much love. God bless those guys and their families, man. I truly look up to them. But they would agree with what I mean on this. But there is not really a lot of professional fighters, man, that are highly lethal and dangerous like Bruce Lee was. And what I mean is that the type of striking ability that can leave dents in your body, completely devastating, man. Like the type of force that can destroy you and take you out just like that. Bruce Lee had that type of power. He had that type of strength, knowledge. He had that type of ability. And there ain't really that many professional fighters that are lethal like that anymore. I mean, a lot of professional fights now go to distance. A lot of professional fights are making the decision. A lot of professional fights are literally decision. I mean, TKOs, they happen, but they don't happen that very often. And the ones that's doubting what Bruce Lee was able to do, first of all, you would have had to spar and train with him yourself to deny that he could fight. And the people that say that Bruce Lee couldn't fight, they're basically saying that Bruce Lee cannot fight at all. But they're saying he can't defend himself. Well, you don't know what Bruce Lee could do when he was here. And I highly doubt people talking trash about him, saying they would be able to whoop him in no time because they outweigh him by 150 pounds. First of all, Bruce Lee trained on a 700-pound heavy bag. I have a Kung Fu Sifu that I trained with for 4 months that's got relatives that seen Bruce Lee do what they could do. I don't remember everything they told me, but they were saying that if Bruce Lee was to compete today in any of the combat sports, he would literally dominate. I don't know how he would dominate, but he wouldn't be a walk in the park. Is what I'm trying to say. And you got to get a brother his credit, man. Bruce Lee is the greatest martial artist of all time for a reason. And the ones that doubt that, that's because they don't know. See, social media didn't exist in the 60s. Social media didn't exist in the 70s. The stuff that we have now is because we're in today's time. But like I said, Bruce Lee was devastating, he was lethal, and he was dangerous. And there ain't many professional fighters that could say that. I know I have all his books, I have all his movies. I'm not just a fan of Bruce Lee, I'm a supporter. Shout out to Michael Jai White. He's one of my favorite martial artists as well. But I disagree with him as well. When he's saying he could beat Bruce Lee, I don't believe he could, because Bruce Lee was a step ahead of everybody. And this is coming from Jim Kelly, that had just as much training in martial arts as Michael Jai White. A lot of other martial artists, Superfoot, Bill Wallace, Chuck Norris, James Coburn, Steve McQueen, Bolo, all these guys. The list goes on. People wouldn't be saying he would be able to beat Bruce Lee if he was alive today in the age he was when he passed away. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that. And the ones that doubt him, you can't really doubt somebody you have not been able to spar or train with. Yes, I know sparring and fighting are two different things, but you cannot doubt somebody that you have not seen in person. You would have had to see him in person, live in action, in order to doubt somebody. And back then, you really couldn't call nobody out, unless you had a name or you were famous back then or whatever. And Bruce Lee was more focused on taking care of his family, and he was an actor. So there really ain't much to say about that, But what I will say, I'm tired of all the doubts. I'm tired of all the disrespect on Bruce Lee's legacy. Bruce Lee was the real deal. I have three of his books, and I read a lot of things about Bruce Lee. And one of the things I remember reading was they said he used to be challenged. A lot of the movies that portray Bruce Lee, like Bruce Lee and all these movies back in the day, they show a lot of scenes where Bruce Lee was being challenged back to back. Well, that's how his real life was. One of the books I have, it mentioned how Bruce Lee would come back home from training many hours throughout the day, coming back from filming, and there would be guys waiting for him to challenge him in his front parking lot. And there's a Bruce Lee biography book that I'm trying to get in my collection as well, that I read when I was 17. And they would say how every challenge that Bruce Lee had at his front doorstep, he took the challenge and he outdid and dominated every time. Bruce Lee was challenged at people's quoons, dojos, martial arts schools, and he showed up and dominated every time. This is one of the books that I read at 17. I don't know the name of it, but I read it, and I'm actually going to get it. And when I get the book, I'll read what it says. And but yeah, to the ones that's doubting Bruce Lee's legacy, man, y'all don't really know what Bruce Lee was capable of doing. God created Bruce Lee, and I'm not saying that I'm worshiping him. Only person I worship is Jesus Christ and God the Father. Bruce Lee was like a brother to me, because I train martial arts also, but I train on my own, and I'm more self-taught than he was. I've sparred and trained with the best and the toughest martial artists and fighters in the country, But what I will say is that Bruce Lee was created by God, the Heavenly Father himself, and those talents that Bruce Lee had before he passed was given to him by God. And I only can hope and pray that he had a personal relationship with Jesus Christ and God the Father, but that's between him and God. Okay, we only can pray and hope that he did. But I'm inspired by him. I'm inspired by Tony Jaa, Michael Jai White, Sonny Chiba, and Maya Soyama. Those are my favorite martial artists of all time. And they inspire me. And but I disagree with all the negativity and the doubts and saying that anybody could beat Bruce Lee. I disagree with that. Because why is it that Rocky, he played in all the Sylvester Stallone, shout out to him. He did great in the Rocky movies, but why are they saying he was not a real boxer? They respect him. Actually, they give him more credit than they give Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee actually has real fights. Bruce Lee has real fights off camera. They didn't have social media back in his day. So Just because Bruce Lee did not have it on film doesn't mean that he did not have real fights, because he did. Sylvester Stallone did Rocky. And they think they make him they give him more respect and credit than they did Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. Now, why is that? Why is it that they gave Sylvester Stallone more credit and he didn't even box? He's never competed. He might have trained with boxers, but he did not have an amateur background. He did not train and spar with boxers. He didn't. He probably trained with boxers for the film and helped him prepare. He did great in the Rocky movies. He did amazing. But he's not a real boxer. Same thing with Jake Paul. He's a trained boxer, but Jake Paul is not an elite boxer. And that's what people fail to realize. And it's too much of this going on in today's time. And, you know, we need to do better as a people, man, in this day and age. And I truly mean that. You know, you can't doubt somebody's legacy if you ain't got one yourself. You can't say the person can't do something if you can't do it. If you can't prove the person wrong that you're trying to apply it by, first of all, no one has a right to say, the ones that doubt Bruce Lee, you can't say that he couldn't fight. If you didn't fight him, you wasn't with him when he was training. You didn't go to Bruce Lee personally and find out for yourself if Bruce Lee could fight when he was alive. So I highly doubt these doubts and negativity and these negative things that people are saying about Bruce Lee's legacy means nothing. Bruce Lee is the greatest martial artist of all time. Even the UFC fighters agree with me on this one. They call him the godfather of mixed martial arts and martial arts, period. And there's a reason for that. This is Lance Cardio and Fitness on YouTube. Look out for a part 2 on this podcast. Second one would be, debates would be open for anybody to join. I'll be willing to debate this with anybody. Much love to y'all, man. God bless.